Got a great question from a viewer the other day around how to find more valuable clients, like ones that will pay you more. Let me show you the question. I think this is something that's probably gonna be pretty relatable.
My wife has a bookkeeping practice using desktop and QBO. I work for her for free, and we struggle to find new clients that are worthwhile. It is my wife's business. I have another job within the CPA profession at a large firm, and we'd like for her business to grow to allow me more flexibility to potentially join her full-time. Really enjoy your insights into attracting new clients without spending lots of funds marketing.
So it's a bookkeeping firm, although I think the advice here applies whether you're bookkeeping or not. They want higher quality clients, but they don't want to spend too much time or money on marketing. We got a little bit of a conflict here already. This feels a little bit like the client who's like, well, I want you to do more than my last guy who never did it. And then you give them the quote, and they're like, well, this is more than my last guy. And you're like, okay. So I would say you at least got to acknowledge it's going to require either more time or money to do this a little better, but definitely not all marketing efforts are made equal. But yes, this is the struggle. How to go from 0 to 1 when referrals aren't getting you there. Here's my tippy top tip for this. And we don't do this because of a lot of like limiting, kind of self-limiting beliefs. Is if you want to attract a bunch of clients who will pay you top dollar, you need to find the shortest path to being perceived as a guru inside of a specific space. We think in the beginning we got to go wide because we got to take anything and everything, right? And that's frankly how most of us did it. But the paradox here is the more specific you get, the easier it is for people to find you. Think about what accounting firm websites look like these days. You've got like a bingo card of peace of mind, stock photo of professional people, an about us page that nobody gives a hoot about because we only care about ourselves. Accounting firms these days are so homogenized. But you know what's gonna make the difference for the beekeeper, for the taxidermist as they're hopping around to all the different peace of mind websites? One of them says they're for taxidermists. Skirt! You better believe that's what they're gonna pick, right? That's why we're doing it. It's gonna get those people in the door, and I would argue it actually leads to you being a better domain expert. But let me give you 3 blockers, the most common blockers I see for why people don't, and then I'll share like the first 3 steps I would do to kick this off. So number 1 blocker, I don't wanna market. Man, I didn't get into this stuff so I could go start shilling my wares on social media. I just wanna do the work. I'm the pie maker, the humble accountant. I am here to serve, even if I have to sacrifice my family. Too far. So the funny thing here is most accountants, you hear like, what's your favorite thing to do and why do they love this? I love helping my clients. I love advising. Buddy, that's what marketing is. It's being helpful to people at scale. There's all sorts of slimy versions of marketing. And when we think marketing, it goes to that, the influencer that's like, fleecing people. Just don't do that.
I thought we were friends.
Good marketing is being helpful at scale. The thing that you like, your favorite thing to do. You got talent, you got skills, don't put them under a bushel basket. Go be helpful at scale. Blocker number 2, feels yucky, feels slimy. I'm not a salesperson. Hopefully you can put your finger now on people in social media and YouTube and stuff like that still feel authentic. They are creators that you trust, podcasters, whoever it is, where when they give you a recommendation, like it means something, it comes with a different degree of weight, right? And that's a product of being authentic and not being slimy. Again, because there is an icky version of this, that should help you understand how not to do it, but it doesn't mean that you can't do it as well. And the third blocker, this is probably the biggest one, is you don't identify as a guru, so you're afraid to hold yourself out as that. Meanwhile, all of the generalist accounting firms, they get their first beekeeping client that walks in their door and they're like, well, yeah, we could probably do that. You, who has an actual interest in beekeeping and listens to Beekeeping Daily, the podcast, not Beekeeping Daily, Beth on Bees, you have like just a few of those conversations and you are now more of an expert than those generalist firms who are happy to serve them, right? So it's a bit of this like chicken and the egg, how are you gonna build the expertise by doing it, going out and having the conversations. We all have imposter syndrome. In fact, my favorite kind of quote that I heard around this or framing is the notion that our internal identities perpetually lag behind our external reality. What we're capable of, oftentimes it's other people shouting at us, you should go do this thing because you can do it. And we're like, I can't do that. Our internal identities lag behind our external realities. So just know that you're gonna probably be biased to not think you can do that thing because of imposter syndrome. And interestingly, it's high achieving, like the most capable people generally suffer from imposter syndrome the most, so it's a positive signal that you might actually be capable of it. There's a few maniacs out there that just don't have that and will plow into something irresponsibly. That's not you. It's probably not you. Is that me? But the way I rationalize this, like being willing to be a guru, which by the way, is just a product of visibility. It's not like, it doesn't take a triple black belt in beekeeping, taxes, or accounting to be a guru. It takes applying your specific expertise through your area of interest. If you're having more conversation with beekeepers than anybody else, then guess what? You're as much of a guru as they've got. But if the generalists are willing to take the next one that comes walking in their door, you're a guru already, like just by putting the thought into it and having a few of those conversations. Now, when it comes to like attracting people on social media, getting the attention of folks, the more specific you go, the better. Always remember that. The more general what you do and the conversations you put out in there, the more you're up against everybody else having the same general conversations. If you are bad at this stuff because you're starting out, get specific. The more specific you get, the lower the bar is. Now, when it comes to niching down, if this is your first time doing it, oftentimes we think of it as like this big like cannonball sort of moment, like it's risky and we're potentially jeopardizing the whole rest of the business. No, you're only gonna fully niche into something when it's very plainly obvious that this is better than any of the other work that you can do. Otherwise, why would you do it? So like my beekeeping clients, I either have to be more helpful to them, they have to pay me more, it has to somehow be better than all the other stuff before I start closing the door to all the other stuff. And let you in on a secret, you won't get it right on the first try. You just won't. In fact, if you think about this for so long and you dwell on, well, I'm gonna specialize into this or that, I don't wanna waste my time. Let you know a secret, all of that is wasting time because you won't get it right on the first try. But what you will learn every time you start sniffing around is how better to look for a niche that's gonna be better next time. Like the exercise of specializing, of being able to capture people's attention, this is a skill that will aid you for the entire rest of your life. Just start. The goal is not to get to the perfect one that you're gonna do for the next 40 years, because that ain't gonna happen. So if you optimize for learning, for the journey, you may pick up a few clients along the way that if you change ultimately may not be like the perfect fit long-term. That's fine, because the most important thing about that next niche you try to explore is what's on the other side of it. And you won't get there until you get here. And you won't get there until you get here. So dumb. Okay, first 3 steps, what I recommend you do. 1, pick your first cohort. I actually like the framing of a cohort. Gary Vee does it in his last book. The notion of like when you're going after someone, you have someone in your head. We want to like, rather than just sitting back and letting whatever clients walk in the door come, like we actually have the agency, you may not realize it, to decide who do we want to work with. And when you're thinking about who those people are, think of them in cohorts, because there may be several different types of people that are similar, like moms within this group, or folks that have been doing it for 20 years versus folks that are just coming into that business for the first time. Pick your first cohort of who you're going to work with. This could be climbing gym owners, virtual fitness coaches, beekeepers. Don't overthink it. You gotta look for stuff like, will they have money to pay you? Do they have any specific unique pains that you can solve for them? And ultimately, will you enjoy talking with them? Like, is this something that you can geek on? The greatest gift you have is your own personal interests. Because ultimately, your competitive advantage over a longer time horizon is what's fun, what's interesting. What would you do at nighttime, whether it was part of your job or not, because you're just super interested in it? What I do at nighttime is none of your business. Second step, become the most visible beekeeper in that domain. We're looking for eyeballs. If somebody is like looking for a new bookkeeper and they are a taxidermist or whatever it is, you just want your name to be the first one to come to mind because they saw you at the conference, on the podcast. They saw you guest wrote that newsletter that they read. Again, like being perceived as a guru, we're gonna be blocked on all this like, well, I don't have as much expertise as this other person, this and that. It's largely a product of visibility. So that's your goal. Are there consultants in the space that you can go after that already have all those relationships? Are there influencers? Newsletters we talked about. That's a great opportunity to find a very specific type of person with the goal of being the most visible bookkeeper or tax pro, whatever it is that you do. And just like that, like you're now kind of one of one. They can compare your rates to those of other firms, but those firms aren't for you, aren't for this domain. And whether that is real or not, whether there are aspects of serving those types of clients that are different or not, people are gonna feel like it'll make a difference. And I would actually argue that it does. And outwardly, if we're not in that domain, we're not gonna see it because we don't understand the nuance there. But I would argue that the better you understand that person's business, the more your advice will be contextualized for them in a way that's actually helpful and could like drive kind of the overall success of the business. There's gonna be people outside of running accounting firms that are like, accounting firms just like any other service business. Service business advice is service business advice. Stop thinking you're a little snowflake. But you come here, I would argue it's different. A lot of it's the same, but some of it's different. And I think you would probably agree with that. Last, number 3, create a cohort specific landing page. I did a whole podcast episode recently about the death of the landing page. And I just think websites aren't that interesting anymore because people don't go to websites, they go find people on social media. And maybe at the very last step, if they're ready to work with you, they'll go to the website. But the better version of landing pages these days are like a very cohort specific one. And so this is your domain / taxidermists, or even better, taxidermist moms or new taxidermists, like whatever that more specific version of the cohort was. And then your copy and the problems that you solve for are very specific to that person. And especially early on when we are first exploring a niche, you may not be willing to say like, oh, this is my whole identity is I'm just taxidermist guy now. And so maybe you're not willing to change up the entire landing page, like the home page, or change it to stuffed animals and sons. Taxidermy joke, I'm sorry. Then you've got a site that feels very specific to them, right? And on that site, you can put a killer lead magnet. That is something that's very valuable for them, where they at least have to like give you their email address to get a copy of that lead magnet. Then whenever you go on a podcast or do a talk or something like that, that lead magnet, that landing page becomes your call to action. Because if your only call to action is come and work with me, that's a pretty high bar, as opposed to come swipe this PDF that's gonna solve a problem for you. You're gonna get like 5x as many people that will take you up on that and start baby stepping into your web just a little bit more. In fact, on the subject of lead magnets, Travis, okay, so now the very best lead magnets convert nicely into a service that you deliver. And I'm gonna show you a sick example of how to do this with today's sponsor, LiveFlow. Roll the music, please. LiveFlow just launched a sweet dashboarding platform, and we're gonna use it to build a service that can convert leads to this hyper-profitable service. Okay, into the platform, we're just gonna swipe a template. You can run these for single companies or like multiple company consolidations. I'm gonna grab this advisory package, select the company up here, the period, all that. We got various sections, but we're looking at the executive summary, and I can go wild here. I can add components, all sorts of different visual styles. So I customize this, and then I can add it to my own template library and like reuse it with all my construction clients, beekeepers, whatever it is. But for my leads on social media, I can make like a simplified version of this. Think about maybe a spreadsheet template, a light version, suggest some KPIs they can use, that sort of thing. Then when people download that lead magnet online, that's a really nice connection too. Well, look at the beefed up version that we can actually do for you. They're like, yeah, I want the better one. You can just do it for me. And before you know, they're coming in, they're clients now, and you can run a hyper profitable service with that thanks to LiveFlow. You can see how easy it is to create those dashboards. Pretty cool stuff. Learn more about LiveFlow down at the link in the video description. That's cool. You've got that light too? That's the same one, right? Back to you, old boy. Okay, thanks, Trav. Remember, no decision, no niche path is final. You're just looking to grow. You wanna learn. Each time you do it, you're gonna get better at it and find that next, even better thing. Thanks for coming and hanging today. You got a question, pop it down in the, whatever is under where you're watching this right now. And if you made it here to the end, thanks for coming and hanging. Oh, he's done. It finished. Yep.